Hi, and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
You are listening to Z Games, which is Australia's realest and rawest gaming radio show. We are going to be giving you 45 minutes to 1 hour of the truth, untarnished.
Or 27 minutes.
Something like that. Yeah. All right. We're coming to you from the 4ZZZ studio in Brisbane, and you are listening to us possibly around the nation on the Community Radio Network. Bless them. Bless their little hearts. Who is in here with me right now? Razor.
Yep, I'm here.
Razor's here, as is Jody McGregor.
I also am here.
And I am Lee. Razor, what are we talking about on the radio?
Well, Lee, you've been playing a little game called Disney Infinity 2.0.
That I have.
And it stars all your favourite Marvel characters, is that right?
That is correct.
And like some mouses in it as well, or whatever.
I've heard there's a mouse in it, but yes.
I've been playing a visual novel on the PS Vita called Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair. And it's a very interesting and quirky game, and I'm really looking forward to telling everyone about it.
Ooh.
By interesting and quirky, you mean bat poop insane, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And if we have time at the end of the episode, we have all been playing Wasteland 2, but we haven't really played enough to give an in-depth analysis this week, so we'll be reserving that for next week.
So how much of it have you played, Jody?
I'm over 30 hours.
Yeah.
I checked on Steam and I was like, yeah, I've been playing this game for longer than any of my friends. I was weirdly proud.
Yeah.
So we still have not played enough of it to be able to tell you.
Yeah, that's not enough. 30 hours and like I'm more than halfway, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we're all enjoying it so far anyway. So we might just do a little preview at the end of the episode if we have time. But first, let's get this episode of Z Games started with the week in gaming news headlines. Our resident newsman is Mr. Jody McGregor.
Blizzard's planned follow-up to World of Warcraft has been cancelled after 7 years of development. The project, which was codenamed Titan, was said to be one of the most ambitious titles that Blizzard has ever attempted, and was cancelled because it did not meet their expectations. Blizzard CEO Mike Morhaime said, "We didn't find the fun. We didn't find the passion. We re-evaluated whether it was the game that we really wanted to be making. The answer is no. Titan was never officially announced nor scheduled for release."
7 years down the drain.
Yeah, they've done this a couple of times before.
Yeah.
They've put like quite a lot of effort into games like that Warcraft adventure game and the StarCraft Ghost spin-off.
I still regret them cancelling that Warcraft adventure game.
Yeah, the screenshots looked really neat.
Yeah.
It was cute. It was like a point-and-click adventure with orcs.
Yeah.
I'd play that.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'd never really found out too much about Titan. We knew that it was going to be a very different type of game to World of Warcraft. We'd heard that it was going to be maybe in space with guns, and maybe the guns in space massive multiplayer online game thing has been serviced now. But in the past, Blizzard had talked about how, I remember at one point there was an interview where they're saying, yeah, it's really early, but we're all playing it. It's super fun. Everyone loves it here. So apparently they must have broken that build, like, beyond repair.
I think, internally in the business end of the company, they know that World of Warcraft it can't last forever. It will inevitably wind down. They need a cash cow to replace that when that happens.
Yeah.
So if I was them, I would be totally working on something that's going to be as financially successful as WoW.
Well, that's apparently what Titan was supposed to be,
Yeah.
though. When they retired World of Warcraft, everyone would go over to Titan, so maybe I guess part of it is that there hasn't been a massive multiplayer online game that's really been able to dethrone World of Warcraft, and maybe they think that not even they could do it.
Not until World of Warcraft 2, anyway.
Yeah.
Nintendo will release the new 3DS and the new 3DS XL in Australia on the 21st of November. The latest iterations of the popular handheld console will feature a second control stick, 2 extra shoulder buttons, increased battery life, and faster graphical and processing capabilities. The release date coincides with the release of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
That's really soon.
Just in time for Christmas, eh, Lee?
Yeah. Damn them. I want this really badly.
Yeah, we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. Bit conflicted on whether we actually would put down the money for it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to have to say on the radio how desperately I kind of want this thing. But damn them for putting me in this position.
You have to be strong, man.
Never!
Yeah. Resist.
I'm hoping that this is kind of like the DSi, and that there will be, maybe 10 games that only work on it, and everything else they make will still be entirely backwards compatible. Like, that's the way they've done it in the past.
Yeah.
I hope that continues here, and I can keep my 3DS that I bought on launch day and never ever replace it. Virtual reality company Oculus has unveiled the latest version of the Rift handset. No specs have been released, but the new model features integrated headphones and a lighter, more ergonomic design. Oculus are working with audio company RealSpace 3D to create realistic surround sound to complement the virtual reality experience. Oculus founder Palmer Luckey also revealed that the company was working on first-party Rift games. One of the first games to be made will be called VR Quest, which is reportedly a Zelda-inspired title. Steam users will have noticed a few changes to the interface upon logging in this week. The new design adds an algorithm that recommends new games according to the user's play history, and there is a new curator system to assist in navigating the vast number of games with a recommendation system.
By the way, Zed Games is a curator as well, right, Jody?
Yeah, you can search for us and find a bunch of recommendations of games we have liked, mostly a bunch of indie games and maybe slightly more obscure stuff.
I have no opinion on the curation of games on Steam. I thought I'd care. It's one more thing to have to deal with. Steam has not gotten any easier as a result of this. Also, it's recommending that I play some Final Fantasy games, specifically Final Fantasy VIII, based on my playing history, so it is way off. Nice work, algorithm. No.
Yeah,
No.
the part of it that I like is that there's that button up in the top right of each section that lets you customize each section of the front page. So, like, there's that thing that shows you what games have been updated recently, and you just tick a button there, and it says, only show me games here that I already own. And from now on, that will only ever show me when a game I have in my library has been updated, and why. And that's far more useful to me than seeing, like, DayZ's had another update. Like, cool, good for you.
You are listening to Zed Games, probably your favorite radio show. What was that we were just listening to there?
That was a K-pop group called FX. Name of the track was Milk.
Milk. Razor, you have been playing a game on your PS Vita
Yes.
called Danganronpa Meep Mop Bleep Bloop Future Hello.
Not quite. Nearly there.
Something like that.
It's called Danganronpa 2
Yep.
Goodbye Despair.
See, I was right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, the first game came out earlier this year here in the West, but I never got round to reviewing it on this program. So this will be kind of a review of both the games, actually, because they kind of go together really well. It's not like a sequel that feels different to the original. It's very much a continuation of the original story. So I might just lump them both in together and give my overall thoughts on the entire saga. But Danganronpa originally came out in Japan in 2010 for the PSP, and the sequel came out in 2012. This is the first time that we've had a Western localized release here, and because of that, it means that we get both games this year. So Danganronpa 1 came out in February, and just last week Danganronpa 2 was released. So for people like me that really enjoyed the first game, this is incredible. This is great.
So what is Danganronpa 2?
What is a Dangan and
What?
why does it rompa?
No, I don't even know the meaning of Danganronpa, but it...
You
So-
call yourself a journalist.
Yeah, I never bothered to look it up either, so there you go. But it's a visual novel.
And what is that?
If you've played games like Virtue's Last Reward,
I haven't.
or
Hatterful boyfriend?
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney,
Go
you
on.
guys have played that?
Yeah.
It's sort of halfway between a game and a book. So there's a lot of talking heads, there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of reading story, and there's a lot of choosing dialogue options and stuff like that. So it's halfway between a novel and a video game. So if you like reading, this is great. Fortunately, the story in this case is very good. It's very compelling. The gist of it is that you are a student coming to for the Danganronpa 1, you're a student entering Hope's Peak Academy, which is like an elite high school. And everyone who's accepted there is like the best, the absolute best in their field, or the ultimate, if you will. So you've got in the first game, you've got the ultimate swimmer, the ultimate fanfic writer, the ultimate fashionista, and the ultimate biker, and stuff like that.
May I ask which you chose to be?
Well, you don't choose. You come in as like a character that's sort of already been designed for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can't choose.
So who are you then?
You are the ultimate lucky student.
Oh.
Because you're drawn out of a lottery,
and
that's how you gain entrance to the school. So you kind of feel like you don't fit in that well, because you're not super talented like the rest.
Yes, I already feel like you don't belong there, Ray.
Yeah.
You have no obvious talents, not like that fanfic writer.
Yeah. Anyway,
Get out of this school.
Upon arriving at the school, you realize that everything is not as it seems. You're kind of held captive. All of the windows have been blacked out. There's no way to escape. The school is heavily guarded. There's like guns mounted to the walls, security cameras everywhere, and it seems like the whole place is being taken over by a maniacal robotic bear called Monokuma. And
of course.
he's a wisecracking little thing that likes to make jokes, but his motives are very, very sinister. So he's got everyone into a situation where no one's leaving the school, basically, unless you can murder another one of the students.
So you rose to the occasion, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, don't jump to too many conclusions yet, Lee. So it's kind of like a battle royale or a Hunger Games kind of situation. So if you can successfully murder a student without being caught, you get to leave the school. Now, the catch is that if you kill somebody and you're discovered as the murderer, you get killed yourself. So after every murder, there's what they call a class trial, where everyone sits around in a circle and they kind of talk out all the evidence and sort through all of the motives that they could be, and they basically discuss the case until there's a consensus on who the murderer is.
Oh, so it is like Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Do you
Yes.
actually get to shout, "Objection"?
You do, yes.
Sold.
So the game's divided up into three distinct sections. There's like there's school life, which is when the story plays out and you're just like talking to people. There's deadly life, which is what happens after a murder takes place and you're going around in the first person. So it's like a 3D kind of first person thing where you explore the environment and you look for clues. Now, as you stumble upon clues, which, may be objects, murder weapons, suspicious items, or accounts of witnesses, you gain truth bullets. And these are pieces of evidence that you get in your weapon box. And then during the class trial, which is the third section of the game, you use these truth bullets to shoot down statements made by people that have factual inconsistencies in them.
Are you literally shooting their arguments out of the air?
Yeah, well, they come up as text, and then you have to aim with your cursor and shoot it down. You kind of select from 3 or 4 different options which truth bullet you want to use, and then you shoot down the statement that's factually incorrect there.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and while these class trials are happening, there's crazy thumping techno music happening. It's very fast paced. The camera's spinning 360 degrees around like a Michael Bay film. And it's very, very, very tense. And these class trials are so fun to do. And, I thought that I could really tell who the killer was. I did a pretty good job at guessing, but there's always a twist that you don't see coming. There's always some element of the case that you didn't consider. And so even though you might think you know who the killer is, there's always a surprise. And the story continues like that. It's full of twists and turns. And the first game, I wasn't really expecting much from it. I thought, okay, this is a visual novel, I'll play it. But I ended up completely being consumed by it and just spending every spare minute I had playing it until it was complete. When you get a book or a game or a TV series, and then you just become sort of enamored with it. You become a captive by it, and then
you binge played Danganronpa.
Yeah, it was one of those games, and that doesn't happen very often for me. So, yeah, this was really cool. So in the end, Danganronpa 1 was a really cool little surprise, And then I was even more overjoyed when Danganronpa 2 was announced for release, in September. And this one, it's pretty much more of the same. It's but the setting is different. Instead of like a claustrophobic school, you're in a tropical island.
Huh.
And so the setting is very different, and the premise is that you think that you're on a school trip, but of course, Monokuma shows up again. And
that evil teddy bear bastard.
The evil teddy bear comes along, and he's, up to his old tricks again.
So, you went back to the school after the teddy bear took it over and killed everyone?
Well, no, the first game ends on a cliffhanger.
Okay.
And then the second game starts with a new bunch of characters.
Okay.
And you don't really know whether it took place before the first game
Oh.
or after the first game, or how the two groups are connected. So there is a mystery
Ooh.
that is revealed to you, and that's part of the appeal.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So it's really cool. One other cool thing is that it's got a really offbeat sense of humor. Like, Monokuma is a really interesting character. He's psychotic, but he's also extremely funny. And that, even though the game has a very menacing, glum, and kind of really depressing tone, Monokuma is so funny and hilarious that he makes the whole thing palatable. In between every day, like, you go to bed and then you wake up, and then in between every day, he does little skits, and he does like comedy routines, or he says like advice on how to live your life and things like that. It's really, really bizarre.
Don't listen to that bear.
Yeah. And another thing worth noting is the localization is superb. The translation's really good. Some games that come out of Japan and have been translated here, they lose a little bit, in the cultural differences, or sometimes there's errors. Here, the guys who have translated the game have done a really good job at making sure, like, the jokes come across and stuff. For example, there's a lot of pop culture references that we might get here. One of the guys, when he gets really angry, he says, "Avril Lavigne," for some reason. I don't know. I just found that really funny.
Are you going to take this on now
Yeah, no.
as your exclamation of outrage?
You'll
I
be
don't know.
shouting, "Chad Kroger!" Is there voice acting, or is it all text?
The class trials are all fully voiced, and each character has a couple of sound bites that they kind of use as a generalization for what they're saying, but there's far too much text to be fully voiced. So some of the key moments are fully voiced, and the class trials are, but there's a lot of reading as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And is the second one, is this the end of the story, or is there going to be a third?
There is a third that's been announced, but it's a different style of game. Apparently it's a third-person shooter game,
Yeah.
a big departure.
That is significantly different, yes.
Yes, but I can't say for sure whether there's going to be a new one, but I hope so. It's a really cool and intriguing world they've created. And the game, I don't know, I'm just going to shout out a whole bunch of game names, hoping that you know what they are, so you can have some sort of frame of reference. But it's kind of like Phoenix Wright meets Virtue's Last Reward meets Persona a little bit. There's elements from all those games, but at the same time it stands alone as its own thing. But it's very heavily inspired by other games, and I guess it doesn't do that. It does it in an unashamed way, in a very proud way. So yeah, Danganronpa 2 is the game I'm talking about, but you'll want to play Danganronpa 1 first, and that's out for the PS Vita right now. We just heard from .ay, and that song was called Specific Emotion. You're listening to Z Games on Triple Z 102.1 FM. Razor, Lee, and Jody with you for another little while. We are the three amigos talking about video games as we usually do at this time of the week. Now, Lee, you have been playing a game called Disney Infinity 2.0.
Yes.
As its title suggests, it's a follow-up to Disney Infinity
Yes.
1.0.
That's right.
That came out, 2 or 3 years ago now?
Last year, I think, actually.
Oh, not that long ago.
New.
Yeah.
So Disney Infinity is developed by Avalanche Software, produced by Disney Interactive, and it is one of those incredibly lucrative attempts to squeeze all of the money out of children that you can possibly get, and it's very successful. So the idea behind Disney Infinity is that it's a video game that you buy, and it comes with little figurines and this platform. And if you're a kid, you've got these cool figurines of all your favorite characters. Originally, they were all just like some Pixar characters and Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean, all these, classic Disney characters with this great little toy. You put it on a platform, and then suddenly the toy is in the video game, and it's the toy, and you're playing the video game with the toy. Your toy is alive.
It reminds me of another franchise.
Yes, there is another franchise that did this first, the Skylanders series, where that is exactly what happened.
That's another cash cow.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah, but the difference is you can't be the Incredibles in Skylanders.
Yeah. So this one, Disney decided that maybe they weren't getting enough money out of everyone that they could with Disney Infinity 1.0, and so they went after the especially young at heart by deciding that they would just put, a big selection of the Marvel Universe, their recently, or not that recently, acquired entire franchise, in this same thing, and boy, did all of my interests align when they did that. It's been a while, but during my comic collecting youth, I was certainly a fan of collecting action figures and not doing anything with them except putting them on a shelf, and I thought I had moved on, but clearly I have not.
Okay.
So what did you buy?
So you get the starter set. The starter set comes with a play set for the Avengers characters. It comes with Iron Man, Thor, and Black Widow. And then they've put out 2 other play sets that also come with 2 figures. There's a Spider-Man one that comes with Nova, the human rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a Guardians of the Galaxy one, which last year I would have laughed at you. Why would anyone care about that? But the Guardians of the Galaxy one is amazing, and it comes with Star-Lord and Gamora. And then also my girlfriend really wanted to play as Groot, so I have Groot.
Everyone loves Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of toys that are now on my coffee table. That's many figurines that I have to justify for the rest of my life. But the appeal of Disney Infinity is not just the toys, but also the toy box mode, which is really something else, and is the real star of this thing, because the toy box mode is this separate thing where through the course of play you unlock access to bits of the game, and you start off in this infinite plane, and you can build levels out of whatever you have access to. So that might be, maybe you decide that you want to make a platformer in the desert with a waterfall, and the guards from that Robin Hood starring the fox. You can make that, and it will look great, and it will just work and function, and that's incredible. If you want, maybe you want to make a racing game with a full track that drives past the Avengers Tower, where you race against Loki on a motorbike and those dumb characters from Cars. You can do that, and you can do that with relative ease. So it has this very, very powerful creation tool.
You better stop talking before I give them all my money as well.
Yeah. And it has this wonderful aesthetic where everything is clearly meant to be a toy, or a toy that your toy is playing with. So you're not playing as Mike and Sully in the Monsters Inc. game. You're playing as toy versions of them. So everyone has this really cute plasticky sheen to them, and when characters die, they break up into little bits. And everything has the physics of a plastic toy, so your cars bounce all over the place. It is super, super charming. Yeah. It's aimed at a younger audience. The Spider-Man one in particular is based on the current animated series, which is aimed way, way, way young.
Is that the Spectacular or the Ultimate?
I think it's Ultimate, but so it's got designs from there. But all of those things are cool. Now there's, Luke Cage and the Iron Fist that you can get as action figures and then put them in your video game. That's all I've ever wanted.
So it sounds like the Marvel component is what's drawing you in here.
Well, yeah, initially. I am a sucker for any time I get to web sling around New York in a video game. And fortunately, that's one of the things that the Disney Infinity gets really, really well, is that the characters themselves, they're not just beautiful little figurines. As soon as they go into the game, they animate spectacularly, they're just bursting with personality, and then they play phenomenally. They animate really well. They feel responsive to move around as a third-person platforming brawling game. These are ideal characters, and each one has their own unique skills and skill trees that you can put points into as you level up. So Spider-Man gets the ability to snag people from afar with his web lines and then pull them close and then pummel them, whereas Nova can use the Nova Force to lift everything up around him and then explode it. The Thor can channel his enchanted hammer Mjolnir with lightning and hurl that across the screen and knock everything over. Everyone has powers that suit them, and they've been really, really well designed, which, like, the amount of thought that has gone into these is phenomenal, considering that you think of children's games in particular as being really disposable fare, but these have, the skill trees in these I think are some of the best I have seen for some time. Like they're better than, I don't know, recent games that have had complicated skill trees have not been as good as the one with tiny plastic rocket raccoon as a physical toy. Like they're real. There's a lot of clever game design put into the way that these things play out of the box.
So when you're not in toy box mode making your own levels, does it come with pre-existing levels that you can just try?
Yeah. So there are play sets. There's the Avengers one, the Spider-Man one, and the Guardians of the Galaxy one. And this is where things start to fall apart a little bit, because the play sets you would think would be, this is the showcase for them to go, look at what we can do with this. But it's not really the case. The Avengers one in particular is quite... It is mediocre at best. You get a portion of Manhattan that has been taken over by Loki and frost giants, and you've got this... What initially you think is, it's an open world game, so there are mission givers located around the place. There's Samuel L. Jackson's version of Nick Fury there, wanting you to do missions. But they're all kind of the same. They're all just go over to this empty place on the empty map and fight these frost giants until we tell you to stop. There's only a couple that are particularly inspiring. They're well voiced, and they've got a lot of excellent cutscenes and things like that. MODOK is in it, which is like worth the price of admission alone for a giant evil green floating baby head that's good at science. But they're really quite dull.
That's a shame, because in the Lego Marvel Superheroes game, you had a New York that you could swing or fly around in, and it was full of crazy side missions.
Yeah.
You could go to the circus, and I had Iron Man ride a lion up the side of a building.
Yeah. See, that's great. There's not really anything like that here. So the Avengers one is quite boring. You're in Grey City fighting grey frost giants, and occasionally some yellow floating robots. And not that much happens there. But the Spider-Man one is a lot more colourful and has trips to the sewers and symbiotes, and you get to be Spider-Man, so you can web swing around the city, which automatically makes it a lot more colourful and interesting. But it's the other half of the Manhattan map that you don't get with the Avengers one. The Guardians of the Galaxy one is actually, I've not played that much of, but it is set inside the head of a celestial being that's been turned into a prison / whatever it was. From the movie. Yes, so it's automatically much more interesting since you're in the mined out hollow head of a space god, and most of your missions are being delivered by Cosmo, the Russian psychic dog. So this might be the winner out of the three. It's a lot more interesting. There's a lot more weird stuff, and it's not just like, you're in New York, drive over there and fight a thing for me. So I think that might be the way to go, but it is really unfortunate that the one that comes with the game is actually so much of a letdown.
And are there any more traditional Disney characters scheduled to appear in this game, like in the last game, Aladdin or?
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse, I guess.
Yeah, so the characters from the first game, they all translate over, and they've all got new skill trees and new abilities that they didn't have in the previous one. The playset adventures themselves don't work with this one, so you can't just copy those things over, unfortunately. But they are scheduling a whole bunch of new characters. Stitch is going to be in it, Donald Duck, who looks adorable, Jasmine, who else? The Angelina Jolie evil fairy character from Sleeping Beauty, whose name I can't remember.
Maleficent?
Yeah.
Maleficent. Yes, she's in it. Tinkerbell, several others. They haven't actually announced that they'll be having any play sets for these characters, which is weird. Maybe they've decided that they're just gonna hitch the post there on the Marvel thing, because presumably the pure Disney characters are going to appeal to a different audience to the Marvel ones. I think the Marvel thing is kind of their concession, that they want to sell this to what you think of as being the standard, at least the main group that gets marketed to when you're marketing video games. And these are people who may not have that much of an interest in making their own stuff, whereas if you're going to be buying Maleficent or Tinkerbell or Donald Duck, you're probably gonna want to get into the toy box and have your own fun there. You've still got an imagination. You don't need people to tell you what to do next. So it'll be interesting to see where they take it, because they've not released everything yet. There are still I think at least 10 characters that they've hinted at that they're bringing out for the Marvel one. They brought out none of the other Disney characters, so yeah, there's a lot of content that's still locked away on the disc. Who knows what pieces of plastic will unlock that.
Mm-hmm. And you're playing this on the Wii U?
I am playing it on the Wii U, yes. So the Wii U is good because you can use the Wii remote, the Wii U screen controller kidjigger. I own one, I don't know what that thing's called, to choose items when you're playing with the toy box. It does seem to have some slowdown issues at times. I don't know whether that's just unique to the nature of the game, because you are constantly drawing from the memory and having to construct levels out of bits, and I think that is likely to cause it to almost break several times over. But there's a lot of stuff on there, and I'm surprised at the variety of content that's already available. As much as the play sets are a little bit of a disappointment, with the standard set you also get these two little I say they're mini games, but they're not really. One of them is just a tower defense thing where you're stopping rampaging hordes stealing the treasures of Odin in Asgard, and there's another one that is set in it's in the Marvel space prison, the Kiln, and they've turned their game with the same characters into Diablo in space. So there's a set isometric camera angle. You are going around this dungeon with a little alien sidekick that you can equip and give them skills and things, and you're finding treasure chests and fighting off hordes of monsters, and it's really fun. And I was amazed that this is this kind of throwaway thing that exists just as a proof of concept, that it is better than the super expensive thing that it comes bundled with. And it fills me with hope that other people will take to these tools and really get their hands dirty and make tiny plastic Civil War or something.
And have you had much of a chance to sample other people's creations?
Yeah, there are a couple. It's only recently come out, so there's not that much available on the store yet, but some of them are really, really good. Someone has recreated the end scene of Guardians of the Galaxy, where you're on the planet.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Jody's covering his ears.
you do some stuff, and then you end up in another thing, and it's really fun. Like, it's just, it's pint-sized and tiny, but it's adorable, and it's just proof of the tools that they have at hand, I guess. Yeah.
It sounds really cool, like a bunch of Marvel fans who come together, form a community, making these awesome mini games using licensed Marvel characters. I mean, it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm hoping that the content that they pump out is steady. Apparently, with the previous one, Avalanche kept putting out a lot of great free stuff regularly. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what is available next. I'm ambivalent about the obvious monetization. It's not, great that you want to buy the toy to get the character for the thing that is. The play sets aren't super great, but you want to play through them with the new characters anyway. But then video games as they are now, everything is downloadable content. We are nickeled and dimed wherever we go. So, at least here you get a cute figurine as well. If anything, that's much better than paying $15 for a level pack.
But is it something where, say you're a parent and you buy the starter pack, not really knowing what you got yourself in for? Could you have maybe bitten off a bit more than you can chew when your kid gets hooked on getting new characters and buying new toys and things like that?
Possibly. I don't know. As a person who is not a parent who bought this mostly so I could entertain a nephew, and then also because I wanted stuff anyway, it's sort of hard to say. I think that the figurines themselves, I think they're $12 to $15 each, depending on where you go, which is not the worst thing that I've heard. That's expensive-ish, but not really for toys anymore.
Yeah.
And if it's something where the kid can take that and then go nuts building a little world for them, that's probably worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for imagination and creativity to be flexed here.
Cool. Well, let's leave it at that. We've been talking about Disney Infinity 2.0, and what platforms is that available on, Lee?
Mostly everything. Xbox 360, PS3, Xbox One, PS4, and Wii U. It is not on the classic Wii, unfortunately, and I have discovered that any purchase will actually allow you to unlock the thing for free on the PC, which is great. Thanks for that.
Hello and welcome back to Z Games. You just heard Mark Morgan doing Machines from the soundtrack to Wasteland 2, a game that just came out of early access and we have all been playing frantically. I said before that I was over 30 hours. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm at least, I think I'm 22, something like that. Yeah.
I'm hovering around 17-ish. Yeah.
Weak.
Pretty weak.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Lightweight over
Baby
here.
man. So what it is a very old-school role-playing game of the kind that you might have played in the 90s and dedicated several weeks of your life to, like the first couple of Fallout games in particular. The original Wasteland game, which came out in 1988, was the inspiration for Fallout. The guys who made Wasteland, this awesome post-apocalyptic hardcore role-playing game where you would die a lot, wanted to make a sequel, but EA owned the rights and they couldn't, so they made Fallout instead. And finally, a bajillion years later, they have finally made that sequel, and they've made it kind of as if they'd made it in the 90s. So it's turn-based, it's isometric, and it's hard as balls.
Yeah, it is. But it's also so lovingly crafted. It's really well written, and you are constantly having to make important little decisions all the time. You feel like you are carving out a story of your own. And I can't wait until next week, really, when we get into it, to find out what kind of choices you guys made. Ray and I were talking before the show and discovered that we have done similar things initially. And I want to know exactly at what point his black heart takes over and we veer off into sharply different territory.
Yeah. It's really interesting because the character creation thing is very in-depth. It's like those old school games where you have to craft a character from 20 or so different attributes without even knowing what the hell sort of game this is. So, whether your character is going to be a locksmith or a pickpocket or a
toaster repairman.
Yeah, weapons sort of modifier, whether to specialize in pistols, shotguns, or machine guns. So it's kind of crazy. You don't know what you're in store for, but yet you have to make these what seem to be very difficult decisions before you've even started the game.
Yeah, and then once you start the game, you keep having to make difficult decisions. You keep having to choose things that you know are going to shut down further things in the future. Like, there are side quests, oh, if I do this, I'm never going to get to do that.
Yep.
So, like, immediately, once I started playing it, I was thinking about what I would do differently the next time I played it, like right from the start. I finished making my characters and was thinking, next time I play, maybe I'll have, like, someone who's good with knives instead of good with shotguns. And then I was thinking, well, next time, maybe I'll go and save this other place first instead of the place that I decided to save this time. And maybe I'll have this person join my party. Like, all the way through it, I'm just thinking about the next time I play this game that is ridiculously long to play just once.
Yeah, so even though, we put in 30 hours or whatever, and it seems like could be maybe something like a 50 to 60 hour game, there's a huge replay, element there. So that's sort of the reason why we're putting this review off till next week, because we wouldn't really be doing it justice if we decided to do it after only 20 or 30 hours of gameplay.
Damn them, I'm a grown adult. I don't have time to play a 70. I will do it anyway. It's fine. It's great.
And I'm also interested in hearing Alana's perspective when she comes back on the show next week, because she's only 21, whereas we're guys
we're grizzled veterans.
We remember the 90s.
Well, people who are around 30 or, or maybe a bit older, there's an inherent nostalgia value here.
Yeah.
In this game, because it reminds you of those old school Fallout games. But Alana, she's only 20, so and she said she really enjoys this game. It could be her game of the year. So I really want to know, like, what exactly about it appeals to her.
Now, let me point out here that Alana has finished both Fallout 1 and 2, even though they came out when she was 10. So I'm pretty certain that she's getting the same nostalgia. It's just not crusted on like it is with us.
Well, even the original Wasteland was far before my, game playing career started back in 1988. So, but I remember playing the first couple of Fallout games, and this is just like those. It could be Fallout 3 in an alternate universe.
Yeah.
This could be called Fallout 3.
Yeah, in the same way that the original Fallout was Wasteland 2 for a generation of people, this feels like Fallout 3 for another generation of people.
Mm.
But you'll have to tune in next week for our in-depth coverage of Wasteland 2. Sure to be awesome, but let's vacate the studio now. Hey, guys.
Good work.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Let's get out of here before I slip my tongue anymore.
Smooth exit, Razor.
Trying to get out of here as quickly as possible. What's our last song, Jody?
This is a song about Namor called Namor by Step Panther.
We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.